said in the thing.
We are back.
Alina, you are
Ready
muted.
for more trash. Oh,
Alina,
we're good.
yeah.
We're back. We're back now. I was saying, like, I was giving us a countdown. Nobody heard it. We're all good. We're live. Just so you know.
Muted, so I had no idea.
Perfection.
Anyway, we've been on air for a while. We're good.
We're very organized. Oh,
Ooh.
Kaitu's got a rotisserie chicken.
nice.
Homemade rotisserie chicken.
Jealous.
I don't remember what happened to rotisseries. People used to have every barbecue had a rotisserie in it when I was a kid, and then somewhere along the line that became less popular. Probably because you can just buy the rotisserie chicken at the grocery store, and everyone was like, "I don't need to do it my own."
I don't know how to cook anymore. It's
Yeah.
not a skill that's been passed along.
Young people these days, I'm shaking my cane.
Yesterday I made fish and rice
Ooh,
with
fish
rosemary,
and rice.
sauteed shallots, and carrots with salmon fished by my uncle, vacuum packed recently, defrosted, and then pan
Sweet.
fried. It was so good.
That
Sweet.
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite thing about the coast is all the indigenous people do cool shit with salmon.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
So, we were leaving off with some conversation, as I recall.
So, you just said no, we didn't get. That wasn't a proposal, and then Ugna gets like really quiet. It's sort of like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, I understand.
Ugna, it wasn't a proposal. It was talks about what marriage would mean and the kind of information that we would have to share for that to happen, for us to be in any kind of serious relationship. And then you split into 3 people.
Yeah, no, I mean that was weird. I haven't done that before. Yeah. But
it caught me off guard a little bit.
I totally understand. Don't worry about it. I won't bring it up again.
Totally didn't break Una's heart just now.
So you're not going to tell me about any kind of agreements that you've had? You don't want to talk about those that we would need to go over?
Agreements? I mean, like I agreed to help the mob, and then I stopped because they said I was done. And then, I mean, I'm signed as a pit fighter. I got like a 5-year contract for that I'm almost re-upped on. I gotta sign that soon.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that paperwork. And if you have any other Fae
well, I mean, we'd have to go all the way back to Mud Hollow, because that's, like, I don't carry around my pit fighting contract. That's weird.
You should have a copy of all of your contracts with you at all times. That's just really good practice.
Do I need them?
You think Sal has that?
I think Sal probably has them in like a lockbox or something.
Okay.
I'd just lose it, honestly. I don't know where half the stuff in my house is.
I mean, that's why we can rely on other people, though, right?
Yeah.
So let's try and get that sorted out. I've told you, and some fucking eavesdroppers, and then Morgan's gonna cast Vicious Mockery on Tromlin.
Oh god.
Pernie's definitely
asleep.
He's
100%.
Tromlin has been peanut gathering this whole time. So
that was Randy.
Tromlin
That was Randy, sorry.
That was Randy.
Okay.
Tromlin has 2 levels of exhaustion. He definitely conked out.
Hard. That's probably why we're having this conversation.
Copernicus is definitely listening because he doesn't sleep. So
yeah,
definitely
for sure.
Eavesdropping. Yeah.
For sure. So you'll just get the stink eye because you weren't the one that was peanut gathering. And not.
You can cast Vicious Mockery on Randy, though.
Familiar monkey just talking shit.
Yeah.
If Tromlin were awake, he'd want me to say this.
Yeah. So yeah, I would need to see those contracts and know of any other fake contracts that you have before we were to like
What were they
do anything
anyway?
more officially.
Like, you said it was because of a fake curse, or maybe that was trauma, but like, why are there 3 of me?
You got me. I don't know.
I like
I have no idea.
don't feel like I'm missing parts of me, and Una's now like looking at her hands and her back.
Honestly, like, I don't know. Like, y'all do some weird shit about your multiplicities that I don't like, if I'm gonna be brutally honest. I think
I don't
trying
know
to
what that
kill
word
your
is.
shadow self. Trying to kill your shadow self is really fucking stupid. Pernie.
Well, some of us have a shadow self that you can just kind of leave it and nothing bad happens. Some of us have a shadow self that abducts a class full of children, and you really do gotta go deal with it.
Whatever happened to my shadow? My shadow came off and turned evil, but I don't know what happened to it. See, I
It
told
didn't
you I just
necessarily
lose
turn
things.
evil.
I lose paperwork, I lost my shadow. I can't
It
keep
didn't
track of
necessarily
things.
turn evil. It was just mischievous. Killing off
And
part of
horny.
yourself is not a great idea. Generally, there are other ways to deal with these things, and getting more in tune with yourself would mean that stuff like this, splitting into multiples, is a bit less likely to happen, or at least less likely to be undiagnosed.
Maybe a course of antibiotics next time.
Well, I don't know, like check-ins, like I assume that your acting different was merely because it was somebody that was from your more military background that we needed to save. And I would have assumed if it was something beyond that, they would have said something. And I think that we need to check in with each other more so that kind of shit doesn't happen.
Do you feel like you're 3 people?
I feel like I'm everything, but I check in with myself often.
Maybe we should get that looked at.
That's just a part of who I am, the part of the magic that makes me up.
Pernie, are you
Morgan.
3 people?
No, I hear a lot of gibbering voices though. So I'm working with that.
I got
Do
nothing in here.
you know who they are, Pernie?
Oh yeah. I know them on a first name basis. If I didn't, they could get me.
Morgan,
Mhm.
as you're having that conversation with Una, you will notice, first of all, when she says her shadow is gone, you instinctively sort of glance, and in the dying firelights that you guys have here, Una definitely has a shadow. It's definitely there. But you also notice your own shadow since you're sitting next to Ugna. And your shadow has an arm around Ugna's shadow.
Yeah. Yeah, that tracks.
Little fire ember pops out of the fire and lands where your shadow's face would be, and glows where there would be an eye and then winks out.
So, Pernie, I know you're familiar with safe words. I think we need to have a set, and different ways that we need to be able to check in with each other, especially with how fucking crazy you get
I
constantly.
can go if you 2 wanna.
We have to figure this
No.
out together.
Yeah, this is more of a to protect the whole party from the influences of demonic possession, outside forces, etc. I think you'd said is it Godin or Scutus or You'd
Morgan will message Skoden and Studis as call-in responses, not saying them out loud.
What are we supposed to use those for?
As ways to check in with each other if you think someone else might be under the influence of a demon or mind control or whatever.
Fairies.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Do they say it if they are controlled or if they're not controlled?
If you think someone is under someone else's control, you work that into what you say or just yell it at them. And if they cannot respond with the appropriate answer, then we know something is up.
Okay.
So I think we need to make this a regular practice. And she gives a stink eye to Pernie. And then gives a stink eye to poor Ugna. I would like for you to remember.
It's always very obvious when I'm possessed, and it's always been very obvious.
Yeah, your eyes go red and you start floating, and then it's really weird when we have to hit you in the head.
Yeah. I'd love to know the variables of that, by the way, Pernie.
There's just a lot of demons that I have played pranks on and or made angry and or pressed into service that they did not want to be pressed into. And so also then when I am meddling in the affairs of other magic users, there's just a lot of entities that would love to assist them in wreaking ruin on my life. So just it's a bit of a liability. That's all. That's all.
So are we talking about you being taken over as a result of spellcasting, or is it something that you're just regularly dealing with?
Oh yeah, spellcasting, not a regular.
So is this on ritual or concentration or ad hoc spellcasting?
There's a particular spell that I cast sometimes where I ask some powerful friends for advice. Sometimes it goes wrong, and sometimes stuff happens. So, but I'll tell you before I do that. And Trommelin has the old.
Oh yeah, that's the one where you talk weird, and then we have to hit you in the head.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that one.
I know that one. I can see that one.
Could you show me the somatic or verbal components of that spell so I can see when it's happening, and you don't have to, just in case you're not able to tell me?
Oh, it takes like 10 minutes. It'll be pretty clear, but
it's a full-on ritual spell.
Oh, it's a ritual spell.
You guys talk it over. I'm gonna go check this tunnel, and Ugna will get up and wander away from the fire to stare down one of the dark corridors.
I'll walk through the basics of it, so that you know. But yeah, it's not info that you'll super need. And out of game to clarify, Pernie is just he has one spell where he might go mad and gibber, and then also he has enough demons that don't like him that I just feel like it invites demonic events to happen more often than they would to the average person when he's like, I think what happened with the goblin was just that they had left some kind of like dibs on the body, but actually very little to do with Pernie other than Pernie just being a curious spellcaster kind of sticks his nose in things.
Yeah.
But I just imagine that anyone who was looking to make Pernie's life difficult could easily look up a great number of demonic enemies that he has to help them in that regard.
Okay.
Speaking of which, are you saying anything about family members?
It doesn't necessarily seem relevant right now. Although
the last time a random possession sort of thing happened, other than that goblin, was very much in that nature.
A family matter.
Yeah. All right. I'll mention briefly that
it was when the cop dad possessed Steve Urkel.
Yeah.
I remember that episode.
And then said, "Did I do that?" I will mention that one time, the particular time that my shadow ran away and I had to go fight it, it was possessed by my brother-in-law, Shecky, who is older than I am. Considerably so. And I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. Okay.
Una,
While
you are staring down this side tunnel, there is a shiny, almost gem-like stalactite vein on one wall, and one of the stalactites hanging down. You can kind of see your reflection in it.
Yep.
As you're kind of staring somewhat mournfully down this tunnel, and your reflection narrows its eyes at you, and you can hear like it's whispering in your ear as its lips moves, and it says, "She doesn't deserve you.
That's rude.
She's not good enough for you. She's not good enough for us.
Fucking rude.
She just wants to use you. She just uses the people around her. She's Fae, and that's how the Fae are."
All racist.
She's not Fae. She's just like a satyr.
you're not Faye, you're just a satyr.
It's fine.
Ooh, it's like poser to the Fae. So you don't even know who she is then.
Who is she?
Oh, she'll tell you. And Copernicus and Morgan, I'd like a perception check.
Hell yeah.
I don't have good perception checks, but I want to know.
Just to notice, this is just to notice that Ugna's so like, quietly talking to herself over there, but like as though she's talking to someone else.
Talking to myself.
Yeah, I assume you were just talking out loud, not like trying to do it in your head or anything.
That is a 14.
Ooh, I was gonna do a 15. You're pretty
This is
close.
perfect. This is perfect to fail.
No, it doesn't pick up on it. You're still having your conversation about Pernie's weird demon family.
Small.
She does plan on going over there, but this is a reasonable enough amount of time that we've been talking.
Yeah, for right now, you two continue your conversation. I didn't want to cut you off there. So Pernie was talking about his brother-in-law, Shecky.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, I don't want to seem rude here. Are you a gnome?
No. But I know many wonderful gnomes.
A halfling?
One of your best friends.
No, just over time, when you've been around as long as I have, your bones start to compact.
Is that a real thing?
Turn to dust.
I have gotten shorter recently.
As the cartilage vanishes, imagine two wooden clothes pegs being smushed together. That's kind of what happens around where the joint used to be. Just
Scissoring?
inside your legs. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Old people just have bones that are scissoring each other, apparently.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh no, those old scissoring bones.
As the kids like to say, no cap, by which I mean kneecap.
It'd be nice if I could chat with Ugna without a audience.
Oh, there's no one around.
Pernie.
You can.
Pernie.
Right, I'll go in my box.
All right.
Climb into the library. The library.
Close the door.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like vertical. It's like on its side.
Yeah, it's like
just like close it like a door. Yeah.
This is very vampire going back in the coffin vibes, but it's perfect for Pernie.
Yeah.
But the vampire's coffin is just a little traveling library.
Yeah.
So as you go over towards Ugna, Ugna, the last thing it says to you is, you can't trust her. She'll break your heart. And then it takes you a moment to notice, like you can keep talking to it because it'll take you a moment to notice that it's just your reflection now, because it's still there, but now it's just doing exactly what you do
And
because it's a
I was like
reflection,
ready to get
and that's
angry
how
at the
reflections work.
I was ready to get angry at the wall for a second, and then I like shake my head and just go, "Ugh, no, it's just I'm really tired. That's got to be it. I'm just really tired." Buh, buh. And so you walk up and you're just like slapping yourself in the face.
You take
Ugh.
18 damage.
Yes.
Oh.
What time do you think it is?
I have no idea. I fucking miss the sunlight.
Maybe
I
another
really want
hour,
to.
and we'll wake folks up for the next shift.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Um. I don't like speaking my feelings into the world because that makes them more real. And I don't feel ready to speak all of my feelings and making them more real. As a fae, it's pretty big magic.
Are you a fae? I thought you were a satyr.
Kind of both. I
And a
told you about
princess.
it while we were talking. I guess, yeah.
Things are
It's a
kind of
lot.
fuzzy. I don't, like I said, I don't have good memories.
It's not to say that we haven't already tied our lives together in so many ways, but I left home because of love and structures of love, and I lost access to a lot of my family because of it. And I like you a lot. I think you're pretty incredible. I can't wait to see the things that you do in the world. I'm so happy about seeing all the things that you have done already. And I think that you need to work on yourself as well. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but to hear you say that you don't deserve another person, that was really sad to see someone who I hold in such high regard say.
Did I say that? Or did I say that?
My memory is foggy on this one. I'm pretty sure it was you before you got slapped. That's the reason you got slapped.
Doesn't seem like a thing I would say. I don't know. Maybe I screw up a lot, but I still think I try and do the best that I can. And like Sal always used to say, it didn't matter if you screw up as long as you try and fix it. And that's what we're doing. Trying to fix everything. Everything that's screwed up.
Yeah.
And until that's done, I don't know that I should focus on anything else.
I'm not asking you to.
I know. We're both really tired. We could probably save this for a different day.
Yeah, sure.
And maybe I'll just kind of like turn and walk to the other tunnel and go stare out that one. I'm like hide it like I'm doing a circuit of the room, but you can tell Ugna's just trying to get away from you.
Yeah.
So Morgan.
Yeah.
As you are, nearing the end of this watch and kind of settling down, and going, "I'm going to go to sleep pretty soon." You're kind of like laying in your barely comfortable spot that you've manage to try and make vaguely acceptable to sleep in.
Mhm.
And as you're sort of like almost dozing, you kind of see like everything gets a little more ethereal. All of the silks and lights and things that you hung up kind of glitter and flutter in non-existent breeze, and you see little pixie-like creatures kind of like circling your head, uh, and you drift into a dream.
Oh, she leans hard into it. Like she's so ready to escape this place. She goes, uh, uh, a a breeze coming from a window. I jump out that window.
So the dream takes you to like not in a cavern,
Yeah.
thank goodness, but immediately ceases to be quite so great because it then becomes evident that you're on like a dark cliff overlooking what appears to be like an endless desert. And on the plain below you, the wind blows the sand. There's like almost like a sandstorm happening. You see dunes move and clear a path for your vision to see this huge black obelisk. And the black obelisk, the sand clears further. You can see the black obelisk becomes clearly just part of an almost pyramid-like structure that's being exposed as the sands blow back. And you can see standing next to you suddenly on this cliff face, chanting in a voice that is the wind, that is the storm, is this man, this pale-faced, hairless man, no eyebrows, no hair on his head that you can see, just very, very pale and sickly looking, wearing a robe with some festooned with some kind of heraldry, but also like the accoutrement that one would expect of a religious spellcaster. And he's got his hands thrust forward and is chanting into the desert. And you can tell that you're witnessing some kind of divination, and you realize that the sands being blown away are exposing something that this man is desperately seeking. And when he sees, when he's looking out, you realize that what you're seeing, the obelisk and the pyramid, is what he is seeing. And you can feel his sense of triumph. And then there's like, almost like his dream is interrupted by something tapping or demanding his attention. And you hear squeaking. You can't do anything because you're observing only. And I mean, you are vaguely, slightly aware that a divination is happening, right? This is your feat. This is your seer feat, or background, I should say, rather than fear feat. And you hear like a voice in a language you don't recognize. It's a high-pitched, very goblin-y voice. And you don't recognize the language being spoken because I'm pretty sure you don't speak goblin or anything akin to it, which you do not. And suddenly, whatever news has been brought to this man just sends him into a rage, and you find yourself thrust out of the dream, thrust out of the vision, and then you're tumbling through the dreamscape, but you end up in normal dreams. You don't necessarily wake up, but you're no longer having an omen type of a dream. So that happens while you're falling asleep, and Ugna It's the end of your watch. You're waking up. Tromlin for his turn, and you can see Morgan has like settled down to go to sleep. Copernicus is still awake. I'm sure at some point after your conversations died down, he poked his head out of the box to just make sure the conversation actually had died down, and then went about his business. So you let Copernicus know that you're done your shift or your watch.
Yep.
And
actually, as I'm waking Tromlin, I'll say, as Tromlin's like getting up and getting ready for shift, I'll be like, "Hey, buddy, I know you've been through a lot lately, and we haven't really had time to catch up, and I'm way too tired tonight. But like, when we get a chance, we should go for a walk to catch up."
Okay. I basically give him tippy hooves, give Ugna a peck on the forehead. Sounds good. Get some sleep.
Ugna smiles and like has a little, almost like moist eyes, like she's means a lot to her. And then she'll go and lie down and settle down into a good sleep.
As Ugna lies down, Tromlin, you hear a voice behind you. Is very touching. Yes. Zaxis ready for watch time.
Good. I will start making some. Do I have the ingredients for coffee or some type of tea or?
You've definitely got tea. You've definitely got some teas. Yeah.
However, if I can make like an earthy tea that he might appreciate too.
Sure. In fact, you would probably think to use some of the shavings of that hardtack mushroom and do a mushroom tea.
All right. I'll make something for him. I'll make some food for us in general. So if we're gonna be up, we might as well eat.
Yep. Copernicus, you're up too, obviously.
I'm gonna try to make a nice meal for him.
I don't know if Copernicus bothers to try and pretend that he can partake, but
no, I think there's probably little enough food that it's not worth sacrificing some of it for show here.
21 for making our dinner.
Excellent. It is an excellent
Very
meal,
nice.
As is your want.
I want him to have a really good meal for once. I have a feeling he's not afforded those many times.
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, he's like obviously like a soldier in a semi-oppressive, an oppressive regime, and a regime where like the leaders summon demons and shit. So,
hey, not everyone who summons demons is oppressive.
in fact, I kind of like an Arcana check from each of Tromlin and especially Copernicus.
My whole
finally good roll.
I know Tromlin's only got a +1 on this, but you've been.
I mean, I got an 18.
That's pretty good.
28.
That makes more sense. That makes more sense right there.
So just to, both of you are pretty aware the prevalence of the demons that were like there was a whole swarm of rocks circling that fortress. And then there was multiple like patrols with like a pet demon kind of attached to each one. It seems very likely that these are not summons, but rather that there's a maintained portal in that fortress.
Just they got all hell for a basement.
Crazy on those.
Yeah, because like if you're gonna have like constant like some kind of bargain that provides constant demon soldier minions or whatever is going to require that kind of a connection and not just. Otherwise, you've got effectively higher level spellcasters. It's an hour per summons, right? And planar binding is a very high level suggestion. The planar binding for Ollie was like a 9th level spell on that scroll. So
worth every penny.
So yeah, you would say it's pretty obvious to you that there's like a full-on portal to hell in that dwarf Duergar fortress. Anyway, Zaxis will be, yes, food, very good.
Also, since I have some spells, like low spell itself, does he have any wounds or anything on him? I'm gonna check him, make sure if he needs help.
No, he actually didn't take a scratch on him because he was spotted.
He was smart enough not to fight.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, just in
well-
general, because I somehow doubt I give a damn about their foot soldiers.
No, he seems to be in pretty good shape. Like the biggest thing being, he's very not ravenous, but like just very into food that isn't the same thing that he always eats because as like the rank and file, you eat what you're given.
Okay. Well, since he's going to be going on his own mission in life soon, I am going to look at his gear. If anything is busted, I'll cast mending on it.
Sure, like, you can see some spots where he's done his own, as would be appropriate in an army like this, where he's done his own patchwork on his armor and stuff, where it's just been stitched up, and you can kind of go like, let's make that an actual mending, so it will hold better than than just some leather stitching. Yeah.
And let's see, there's one other thing I wanted to do to make sure because there's no telling where he's going to go, and I don't want him to be in a bad place. Oh, I don't have any little spells left, though, do I?
Not yet. You will by morning, so you can just kind of wait for the.
Yeah, before he heads off from us, eventually, I'm going to create water for him, so he has plenty of water for his wineskins, because we have the other ones for the other guys too.
Yep. Well, and actually doing a create water would be a good move to like get your own selves set up because you are, you didn't set out outfitted for like a weeks long excursion.
No,
you definitely brought
sorched over here by some random wizards with zero warning.
Oh no, but you did set out with Hollis specifically to investigate the goblin, the tunnel that had been created by purple worm acid that the goblins had tunneled, which is still kind of like the goblins had like access to a black pudding, possibly a full-on purple worm, or at least some kind of use of its secretions. There's definitely some like unanswered questions about these goblins.
Yeah, well, the purple worm was also at the service of the what's his name? Langarian.
Right, yeah.
And
that wasn't a purple worm. That was a giant magic serpent. Like that was a colossal actual snake, but summoned through some kind of crazy magic. And you discovered the magic circle that did so was like a druid magic in the Underdark below Ravenfall.
Did we ever figure out which druid?
Purple worm.
No. Brought about through some kind of alliance with Underdark people, though?
No, I believe you pretty much figured out that it was just there was a permanent summoning circle down there that had like an attached magic workshop, because that's where you found some of those. That's where you found the drow wand, for example, of goo and a couple other things. You had pretty much determined that it was the twins who went down there and used that circle to summon the snake and cause the distraction that they wanted. But probably that circle was not of their making. They just knew it was there and went down and activated it.
Right. Okay.
Well, anyway, I just want to make sure he has a nice night for once, where he's not exhausted and berated and fearing for his life.
Yeah, he seems to be kind of thriving in this not in the barracks kind of environment. But on the other hand, you're not really sure what he was like there. He might be very, at home in that situation also. But he's definitely enjoying this. He's like, yes, food is good food.
Good, I'm glad you like it.
Good.
Yes. Outlanders travel well.
We do our best.
Zaxis appreciate.
So,
Still not sure where you're going, but we'll try to take you.
Appreciate it. We're just trying to get back to the surface, mostly.
Yes, to some lake place. but Zaxis knows a way.
We
Probably
appreciate your help.
what you need.
We appreciate your help, sir.
I think at some
So
point,
I guess we just keep.
I think Pernie will try to do a quick like check in with Tromblin at some point when it would not be like rude to cut Zaxis out, just to be like, yeah. So we we've had some you teleporting into the Fey realms or the Nether realms a few times. I just want to see how you're doing with all this. How are you feeling about all the changes that have happened? Are you all right?
I mean, my life has been kind of constant change, so it doesn't really affect me too much.
Okay. Well,
But I mean, it's finding out I have another child is a little surprising.
what I'll say is, I've had both the surprise of discovering unexpected descendants and the joy of it, and
Mm-hmm.
also the surprise of, I guess, perhaps discovering that I have become a man out of time every now and then, and those are now two experiences you've had on your own. So if you ever want to talk about it, I just, I've been there. I've been there.
I appreciate it. I'm mostly worried about Ugna and Morgan. I mean, Fedid's always fine.
That's fine.
Fedid is probably the most balanced of all of us, to be honest.
What?
Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
He processes all of his emotions immediately by just doing the thing that they tell him to do.
That's right.
Yep.
Fenrir
I'll
and
leave it at
Zaxis,
that.
man. Fenrir and Zaxis are holding down this party.
Yeah.
God. But yeah, I mean, a little concerned about the Raven Queen thing, but not much I can do about it at this point. I had to do what I had to do, and
Well,
yeah, that's hanging over my head.
if you ever need me to take a look at the paperwork or whatever, let me know. I know you're
Do I know if that would piss the Raven Queen off more or less?
You got the impression from your son that you're
Mhm.
not supposed to talk too much about what she's asked you to do, but she hasn't given you a task yet, right? She just said she's going to come and ask you for
Yeah.
favors. You also don't have the paperwork. Like you signed the thing she showed you, and then she vanished it back up into her sleeve. So you don't actually have a copy of this contract.
I explained this to Pernie, and also well, I mean, she hasn't really told me what to do yet, so she's watching. She doesn't like me talking about things, which I guess I understand. Being the Raven Queen, probably want some stuff on the down low.
Is there? I don't know if it'd be a modify memory spell or is there a spell that would let me see Tromlin's memory of the thing he signed so that I could scan it in retrospect? Not a spell that I have.
Tromlin did read it.
Yeah,
Tromlin did read it too, so it's in my memory. You have a chance.
Yeah, like I mean, obviously, who knows what kind of weird fey twists and turns there were in the perceptions of reality at the time. But you signed it based on it was basically the deal was that the Raven Queen would come to you and ask you to accomplish tasks and you would do them. That's the basic gist of the deal. And in exchange, she told you a number of things, including what she knew about the one who holds the contract that your mother signed. Right?
Yep. Yeah.
Now I'm just looking
I
for
love
that.
we finally got Ugna out of talk to the
list.
mob, and you are in with a much bigger mob.
Yeah.
The fairy mob. With
The
mab.
Fae.
You're in with the mab.
Yeah. Nice.
I know that there is a spell that does kind of what you're talking about. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Yes, there is a modify memory spell, but that's not it. Detect thoughts, of course, is relevant to see some of a person's like, but that's not going to get you into any unconscious sort of stuff, right? Like that would be, if you can detect the thoughts, then Tromlin can just tell you, right? That's how that works. Another option though is the dream spell, and that's probably the closest thing to what you're talking about.
Okay.
Because I'm just checking who can cast it. So the dream spell allows you to effectively appear in the target's dreams. And like you can do messages, or you can like make monsters appear and stuff like this. But I think the idea there would be, which is a 5th level illusion spell. It is on the Warlock list. But this is a spell that does in fact, like have a lot of applications that aren't like very clearly written, because like, what if you induce someone to dream about something you're interested in, and then you would get to witness that dream, right? Is the idea. So like, if you were to have someone dream about something that they remember, or something that happened to them, you would then be privy to those events by witnessing the dream. So there's a lot of kind of, the way that dream was written, it's sort of like it's intended for just purely fucking with people or sending messages, but you can do a lot more with it.
Okay.
So that might be something to consider.
Gotcha. Well, then I might keep an eye out for like a scroll of that the next time we're in a town, or should we level up or something, and that'll be one that I keep an eye on. But in the meantime, yeah, seems like Sean's not too worried about it, so I won't press any further.
So yeah, is there anything else you guys want to do during this watch, or shall we move on?
At some point, I will investigate the rune paper, but I might do that when the party's awake.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Like in the morning.
Well, that was part of my question. You have a fair number of things to investigate right now. So you've been actually. Why don't we talk a little about this? You've been looking at these books now.
Yeah.
So at the very least, in the time that you've been in the library, you certainly would have had time to like analyze what the books are. Like, what are the books that were stolen? And one of the books you already know, right? It was the Book of Rune Magic that was, I forget the guy's name that was attached to it, the ancient dwarven smith. But it was the book that Sal wanted to find and read about. Right. Sal went to
Iron Script.
Yes. The reason that Sal went to Rockspire when Ugna asked him to the last time you guys were in Mud Hollow was to do some research on that rune sword. And so that book is very clearly connected to that. There's a couple of other very academic treatises on rune magic that are much newer. They're still quite ancient, but they're obviously dwarves doing research on rune magic that was done in ages past that might be beyond their current ken. You would get a certain amount of like dwarven magic users who couldn't do the rune magic, but at least studying it. I like how he sits on your pencil, but the best is when you're actually trying to draw.
Yes.
He's like sitting on the. No, I mean, from my perspective, yes. I know you're not happy about it, but it's cute for me. Oh no, ice cream bird. So there's a number of books that are like academic works on runes that are likely also part of the books that Sal was researching and investigating. There's a few other really obscure books that don't seem to fit any kind of theme with the rest of the books. But you recalling that like the fragment of the Elnath fell out of one of these books, and the random folded thing of runes that Fetid. Although I can't remember, did Fetid tell you guys about what he found yet? I don't remember.
don't recall if I did in our last
No,
session.
I don't think you
You
had.
can assume that I would have by now.
Okay, so recalling that these like folded bits of runes and scripts, you kind of suspect that some of them were like parts of or within some of these other books, and in fact, a couple of the books are like damaged, like they're not whole, and there's a bunch of loose leaves in them. Some of which seem to definitely follow in like order, like someone figured out these are the pages that should go here, but others don't really fit and they're disjointed. Like someone trying to restore some of these volumes in the past with mixed success. Um, and so obviously they are like would take a lot more work to investigate to find some of these. And as you go through them, a couple of them have segments or sections that have rune magic or stuff about rune magic. At least a few of them have sections that appear to be rune magic, like to be pages with runes on them that you can see with your magical sight are magical, but you're not sure what their purpose is or what they do. And you imagine that quite possibly neither did Sal or the dwarves who'd investigated them. But in addition to these, there's a few books of like pretty dark magic. There's a book of demonology in here that has a bunch of stuff about different demon types of various circles of hell. You imagine this would be useful for someone looking to do summonings of lesser demons. There's a couple of names that you recognize of lesser demons in that mix. But there's also some books that are kind of surprisingly, or some sections of books that are surprisingly both. Like you find some books that are written largely in infernal script, that are clearly magical in nature, that are bound in human skin and have like demonic spell or incantations in them. Stuff you've seen or heard of before. Some of this is like, yeah, I know that's a warlock spell that's associated with warlocks of infernal power. It's not like a wizard situation where you're like, oh, I better write that spell in my spell book, because you're like, no, I would, if I had that kind of patron, then this would be relevant to me, but I don't. But the books also have sections where there's runes in amongst the infernal scripts that are glowing and possibly doing something within the book, or possibly meant to be part of the spell that they're attached to. And you're interested that this is something like dark rune magic. You imagine this is the sort of thing where the dwarves would like keep it under, tight surveillance as like a dangerous book, but would want to keep it because the dwarves so jealously guard any the rune magic that was supposedly only theirs in the misty distant past, but was largely lost. Any trace of that would be something that the dwarves would hoard and keep in their library. So you have no doubt that all of these books came from the Athenaeum, the great dwarven library. But it's interesting to you because some of these you're sure weren't part of Sal's investigation. You know that Ugna specifically was looking to have Sal research her mother's sword. So some of this must have just been other stuff that the goblins were after.
Right. And the fact that Sal got scooped may have just been a coincidence that he was in the same section that they were looking to get.
And that he may have had some of the rune books that they wanted.
They're like, let's take this rune dwarf with us and maybe he can come teach us stuff.
I was picturing Sal being like, no, I need that book. You can't have it. And they're like, well, then you're coming with.
Okay, very interesting.
I would like an Arcana check from you. Actually, you know what? Save it. I think I'm going to wait until you have more information for this particular check, because there's some confluence of things here.
Okay.
So eventually, Tromlin and Zaxis go to bed, and Ollie and Fetid take the last watch. Is there
I
anything
don't have to have
particular?
any deep heart-to-heart conversations, which is unusual.
Headed.
I just
Good
talked to
one.
Ollie about what a good infernal boy he
Oh.
is and how
Well,
bad
you've
he
got to do your
smells.
scritches. Remember, you have a contract with
Oh, that's
this
true.
demon
Mm-hmm.
to give him daily scritches
It's true.
100 scritches.
and belly rubs,
Headed, I have a question.
and tell me he's a good boy.
Something I've been meaning to ask. A question that perhaps is only appropriate to ask by the light of a low fire in the midst of a harrowing adventure. What kind of stink is best?
Conan, what stink is best?
What is best in stink?
Yeah.
It depends. Like there's a lot of context that comes into play. So like sometimes an unexpected stink can be really refreshing and fun, but other times, a very familiar stink is like, I'm home, or like, yes, I ate that yesterday. So it changes with the situation. Personally, I tend to like the really like pungent kind of burn your nose kind of stinks, although like the really like warm earthy stinks have their own charms as well.
It's a very unexpectedly wise answer.
Well, when you're around as many foul odors as I am in your day-to-day life, you learn your preferences. You start reading Stink Monthly at an early age, and you just kind of internalize all of this stuff. Sometimes literally.
I didn't know Fetid could read.
Oh, Stink Monthly is just like a big leaf that one of the
It's
Quagos is
scratchy
writing
stick.
on something.
It's
Yeah.
just
Sometimes it's a
a
button.
Like, you don't read it,
magazine.
you sniff it.
It's
Just
just a
sniff.
magazine of multiple
Scratches.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it's
Little
just scratch and
perfume
sniff.
things.
All there is.
Sometimes there's a hat, it's like
Yep.
all in a like vacuum pack thing.
Mm-hmm. And one of the best things
Yeah.
about the publication is you never really know what you're going to get. So
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like a tin can with a weird
Yeah.
smell in it, but like
Oh,
there's
good.
actually some scraps in there you can eat.
you can tell when they were working under a really tight deadline when it's like, oh, it's a bunch of dead fish again. Okay.
Oh, it's editor sweat.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. So at the end of the long rest, everyone can consider themselves long rested.
Yeah.
You.
My hit points
So that's
are back.
some serious hit point and spell slot return. Probably the
Hell
most
yes.
at any long rest the party has taken.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is probably a good time to sort of remind y'all that you still have, speaking of scents, a dead dwarf
Oh, right.
who is slowly decomposing.
I'm thinking of that as more like our mascot these days.
And a tied up kobold,
He's just my
which I
friend.
will assume you've been feeding and giving water to, or else he's dead by now.
I assume we've been feeding him
Kobolds
something.
can go a long time without food because they're like semi-reptilian, right?
Yeah.
You fed him
So
once.
if he had a big
and he's been
meal, he'd be
sleeping.
good for a couple weeks.
Yeah,
He's
you
like
fed him
a
a really
snake.
big rat, and he's been sleeping ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, there's a kobold with black eyes that you have tied up, bound hand and foot in Ugna's backpack. And you have also probably being kept in Ugna's backpack a decomposing dead dwarf of House Glacius, who you were told was the leader of the excursion.
Yeah.
So
Maybe some
I could
speak with
try.
dead.
He seems like the heaviest one to jettison once we are done interrogating him. So, if you want, I can cast the Speak with Dead and maybe have the knockout zap ready, Tromlin, just in case. And we'll make another attempt at this.
I'm assuming that at least you jettisoned his armor and stuff before, because otherwise that would be real heavy to haul around.
Yeah. I think everyone think of one question to ask him.
What's your favorite stink?
Perfect. No, that should open it.
Decomposing dwarf.
Yep.
So do you guys need any reminders, or is everyone feeling okay with that for what you want to talk to him about?
So we captured him very near the beginning, correct? Or no, he was killed. He was killed before we
When
found
you
him.
guys fought the goblins, you found that several of them, as you killed them and they died, turned back into dwarves wearing those wooden masks, the wooden goblin masks. And then you captured one of those said dwarves, and by I think it was Morgan who charmed him, and then got him to like give away a bunch of stuff about their purpose with these goblins, which is where he talked about the coup that they were arranging against the Embergrims.
Right.
And that they would use these and that's where we found out that they're dark allies who you intuited to be the Duergar. What else was there? Just pulling up some other notes here. Yes, and that House Glacius was staging a coup against House Veneris, which is the house of the Embergrims, and that there were other dwarves of other houses who might be inclined to think that the Glacius, if staging a lot of these goblin raids might have been part of their plan, but it had led to this specific raid where they stole all these books and kidnapped Sal. And you didn't get much more out of that particular dwarf because Morgan put on the mask and suddenly was compelled to try and escape with the dwarf. You guys ended up killing him. But before you did so, he identified this particular dead dwarf as the leader of their little group of dwarves.
And we've now heard
that's
from
why
the
you kept him.
Duergar that the goblins, at least, were working with that Marin wizard.
Yeah.
Whether the Duergar or whether the Glacius elves or dwarves were as well, we don't know.
Well, we asked him what kind of stink is best.
Yeah.
That's question number 1.
Yeah.
How many questions here? Is it 3 or 5?
I think 5.
We each get one.
Just pulling up the spell, so I've got it for when you cast it, but I'm pretty sure there's no rolls or anything. The corpse must still have a mouth. It can't be undead. Has to be within 10 feet of you. That's all good. The spell fails if the corpse was the target of the spell within the last 10 days, so you can theoretically cast it another 10 days later, but that state of decomposition might be getting a little rough. Up to 5 questions. It only knows what it knew in life, including the languages it knew. The answers are usually brief, cryptic, or repetitive, and the corpse is under no compulsion to offer a truthful answer if you are hostile to it or it recognizes you as an enemy. And that burned you once when you used it in Ravenfall, because you asked a question that he didn't want to answer, so he didn't. He had to answer, but he didn't tell you the truth.
Well, we definitely open up with what kind of stink is best. And I'm assuming that Ugo is translating for us into Dwarven.
Give him a layup to warm him up, and then...
Yeah.
Thoughts? Is everybody prepared to ask questions, or do you need to think some more, or you want to do...
We're definitely...
I'm reserving mine for last rites question. What does he want for his last rites?
Ugne was going to ask something along the lines of whether or not he's met a Marin family wizard. What is the name of the wizard that you're working with?
Wait, how is Ugne the only one so far who has a relevant question?
I think it's less Ugne, it's more just Alina.
I think I'll ask what, why they were sent for rune magic texts in particular, or what do their leaders want with rune magic?
What do they want with those books? Yeah.
Yeah.
Would I be able to cast suggestion or charm person?
No, because
As
the
part
person
of
will not be
this?
present. So this does not actually reanimate the body or bring the spirit of the specific individual back.
Mhm.
It just magically forces the corpse to answer. So it's not a person. There's no one to cast the spell on.
Okay.
Basically, if the spell wouldn't work on a dead body, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And things like charm and suggestion don't work on corpses.
Good point.
Yeah, the last note here on the spell is
right.
the fact that the corpse can't learn new information, doesn't comprehend anything that has happened since it died, and can't speculate about the future.
Another thing Ugna would ask or suggest is something along the lines of, did you want Sal Shattersmith specifically?
Were they after Sal?
Yeah. Because that's different. If they just wanted any dwarf, or even a dwarfen smith.
If you want my question, you can have asked that. That's as good as anything I can think of.
Okay. That's two for
And
me.
keep in mind, you can also choose to like switch tactics in the middle if you find an answer that you want to follow up to, right?
Yeah, ask the two
Also,
best and then
you can do this again in 10 days as long as you can find a way to keep the corpse sufficiently intact to do it again.
No.
Will it continue to decompose if we put it in our bag of holding?
It's a good question. Anybody want an Arcana check for whether you believe what you think that would be the case?
I'll roll Arcana on that.
You've got an expert.
What's a 16 get me? Also on decomposition, so this is really...
Is that a 16 on the die, or is that a total?
Can I give you a help action?
I'd happily take it.
Yeah.
I'll give you advantage on that roll then.
That's a 26 now, a 16 on the die indeed.
There's a much bigger roll.
No.
So number one, there's no oxygen in a bag of holding, which absolutely does reduce decomposition. There's no atmosphere at all. Therefore, the gases.
It's anaerobic.
Yeah, it's not just anaerobic. It's because anaerobic usually involves there being carbon and dioxide and other gases. So absolutely would slow down decomposition significantly. It's also relatively cold in a bag of holding, which is like having a refrigeration unit, which would certainly slow down as well. But also with that high roll, you know that this would work on a skeleton, right? So there are things, as long as it has a functioning mouth. So if you can specifically try and preserve salt, you've got Tromlin here with infinite spices. In fact, you have almost like a little bit of a flashback with that 26. I'm going to say that Tromlin when you mention preservation, Tromlin's like, well, nutmeg is great for preservation and salt, and there's several things that I can make happen with my spice bag. And you're remembering, you have memory, Copernicus, of you and Barb on an early date, holding hands while you are putting spices into a cadaver to mummify it. Back in the tombs.
Mummifying together is definitely third base.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you playfully add some to her as well, like replenish some of her wrappings or whatever crazy shit she had going on.
He does some big awooga eyebrows and then says mummy likey.
Excellent.
It's the episode title.
Yep. Royal Mummy. Yeah. So, you've got some thoughts about ways you can prolong the usefulness of this cadaver. And certainly, if you store it in the bag of holding, it's going to be a little easier on the scent as it decomposes, but it'll decompose slower. Yeah, there's several reasons to do it.
Well, after this scene, I will ask for permission to do that. Obviously, we need approval on that. But in the meantime, let's get those. Let's find out what this corpse has to say.
Okay, so we'll wrap up with these questions. So let's do question number 1. So you cast the spell. You pull out this dead body of a dwarf that's starting to stink, and you cast the spell, and the sunken eyes, the lids shoot open, and the cloudy, partly rotten eyeballs swivel like they're looking forward. The mouth opens with a hissing breath as it awaits your question.
What kind of stink is best? Definitely number 1.
That's the first one.
Yeah.
The metallic smell of copper, silver, and gold, says the dead dwarf of House Glacius.
Yeah, that tracks. Were you after Sal Shattersmith specifically?
The bargain was for runes. Holder of rune magic would be a strong bargaining chip.
Who wants runes? Who is bargaining for runes?
The dark sorcerer.
And he says sorcerer, not warlock, correct? Is me asking.
He said sorcerer.
Okay, that sounds very grounded.
You know what though? Would he? No, he says sorcerer. But give me an Arcana check, Peter, specifically, and you can't have any aid on this one. And I need you to break a 20. You broke a 20.
That'll do it.
You hear in his voice, despite being like croaking out from beyond the grave, the lowercase s.
Okay. So this is
You
not
think
like...
that he is being referred to as a sorcerer, like in the way someone might say conjurer, who's not specifically referring to a school of magic, right? But rather
a magic-y guy.
Like, that's a title this guy has been called, or something along those lines, as opposed to a type of spellcaster.
Yeah, it's not a classification. This is like just, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And you know this is common. Like, most warlocks are not generally called warlocks unless they kind of do specifically, like, warlocks with infernal patrons and similar to infernal patrons get called warlocks. Warlocks with obscure weird patrons like archfey often aren't recognized by most people as warlocks because they're just like, what would the average person know about the subtleties of the source of their power, right? So terms like sorcerer are often, because sorcerers are frequently, wizards and sorcerers are the kinds of magic users that people know. Those terms get used broadly as like just guy who has creepy magic powers and we hate him.
Magic guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the flow chart for I think most people is like, if this magic user fucks, they're a sorcerer. If this magic user is fucked, they're a warlock. And if this magic user clearly doesn't fuck, they're a wizard.
Yeah, kind of. And even that is a subtlety that's lost on a lot of people who just like think that those terms are interchangeable.
Yeah.
Wizards hate that. They're like, yeah. I'm not a goddamn sorcerer. I went to magic school.
But you imagine that even they do it, right? Like the designation, the idea of splats in a video or in a role playing game does not translate to like colloquial language. So yeah, you like if somebody said that barbarian, meaning like a warrior who's like lives in the wilds or whatever, like you wouldn't say, no, he's not technically a barbarian, he's a fighter. Like that's a player information character sheet thing, not an in-game thing. So yeah, I would say it's clear. Like Gandalf said, "I don't take me as a conjurer of cheap tricks." He didn't literally. You know, I can imagine Bilbo getting all pedantic and being like, "Well, technically, you're not a conjurer. You do fire magic. So you're what is it? Your evocation school, not conjuring. Clearly."
And Gandalf's like, "I found an obscure subclass in a unearthed arcana, bitch."
He's like, "I'm 3rd edition, motherfucker. I've got a template."
Yeah. So I think we have one extra follow-up question before the last rites question. So would anyone object to me asking, like, where does the Dark Sorcerer reside or something like that?
That's not a bad question. That's probably better than name.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. Then yeah, we'll go with where does the Dark Sorcerer reside?
Helena, can you please pull up a map?
Yes, I'm going to.
This is a nice, interesting twist to end on.
The map.
This is the base map that I need. I need you to zoom out, or don't zoom out, just move over to the far right on that. I need you to move to the far right, Lena.
No, never. I refuse.
It's kind of visible at the very top.
I'm moving it.
He says the Tower of Grothang.
This guy. Up in the Deadlands? North of Morwindle.
Correct.
That seems bad.
That seems like the seat of power of the Marins.
Hey, is that tower obelisk-ish? Maybe?
You can make me a history check and see what you know about that tower.
The Marins were in Morwindle, right?
Do it.
Yeah.
The Baron Nicholas Marin is the noble in rule in Morwindle.
Can I get a assist on the history of this tower from
Not from me.
from Grandpa?
May I give an assist on that?
You may, but also if you roll it yourself, you'll get more information because you've got the historic.
Specialization?
You've got direct knowledge.
I did roll a 10 on the die for a 20.
Yeah, I only got a 4. History's not my bag.
So, well, hang on. Why don't we reverse it? Peter, why don't you re-roll with assistance from Morgan instead of vice versa, which makes way more sense.
Yeah, sure.
I'll
Just
take the assist gladly.
weird vagaries of D&D mechanics.
Yeah.
The 10 is the better roll, so I'll keep that for a 20.
With a 20, you know that Grothang is one of the great towers of the north, of which there are only a few. The Wizard's Vale, the Tower of the Wizard's Vale is another one, which name I've forgotten off the top of my head, but I actually have
Wizard's Vale on the map.
Yeah, because the name isn't written on it. But in one of your recent recaps, the one before last, Galathenost, the White Tower of the Wizard's Vale. And then you may notice on the map that there is also a tower north of Ravenfall.
Land's End, right at the top.
Yeah, at Land's End. It also has an Elvish name, but people generally call that area Land's End. So there are several of these great towers that were built in the ancient, misty pasts of the world before the human race was as prevalent. And there's a random picture of a boat.
There we go.
Instead of a map.
And then here is the other one.
Yeah. There are more than those, but those are the 3 that were on this map originally. you, Copernicus, know that. So when someone sets up in one of these towers, it's because they've got enough power to kind of go mine, because these towers have been around forever, right? So we're talking like Saruman setting up at Orthanc kind of situation, or in this particular setting, the giants of Land's End taking control of the tower there, or the wizards of the Order Arcanum setting up shop in Galfanost.
Is there
I'm
any
going to
connection
give you one.
proposed?
I'm giving you one last thing before we move on, which is you with the 20. You also remember some vague history or ancient history things that people have said, that like the Deadlands, which is like an area where the land is blighted, like nothing grows. It's almost like an undead place. Is said to be due to like the dark magic of an ancient wizard that cursed the Tower of Gurthang in the distant past.
He's dead.
I'm gonna describe to Pernie and do some illusory magic to communicate what I'd seen in my dream in the person.
Okay, then. Okay, first thing I want to ask. So, Copernicus, or Peter were about to ask me something. I want to get that out first.
I was just going to ask if the towers, like Gurthang, are connected in any way to Beredvar and Yenvar, the towers of the Sea of Evermere.
It sounds likely, but you would have to do some specific research. You'd never heard of that tower before Glorpa's visions.
Yeah.
The tower that was in the center of the world. But you might note that these towers are kind of distributed in kind of a certain way. So maybe that has something to do with it. And certainly the name of that tower from the dream was also ancient Elvish, like all of these other names, like Gurthang and Galfanost. And then Morgan goes, "Hey, Copernicus, I had this dream last night that I think might be relevant," and begins conjuring an image that I don't know how you want to necessarily react, but the image in the dream, which I described earlier, of the wizard or sorcerer or whatever casting a spell into the desert, and the revealing of this place is a place you know very, very well, but have maybe forgotten until this very moment just how well you know it, because it's the place where you became what you are. And that is where I will leave the game for this week.
Oh boy.
And I imagine, I'll give you some time to think about whether Copernicus goes into some kind of like denial fugue or conniption fit or what.
Well.
But we'll take as read the final question about last rites have been asked, and that can be sorted out. So that's it. That's the end of the game for tonight. Some good like low drop. And I'll remind you next time that you still have a kobold prisoner to question, just so we don't forget about him for another month.
He's really more of like our pet that we keep in a terrarium now.
Yeah, at this point he's a neglected pet.
Yep.
We give
So
him
we're
three.
gonna have a shout out, and Alina, I need to roll from last time too.
We rolled from last time. I did not get the thing from Twitch tonight because Twitch was being weird. So we will have to roll after the stream.
Gotcha. So do you want to announce from the last time? Because we didn't announce it on stream last time.
I believe it was. Okay, now I gotta open it. Subscriber list. What is our latest one?
I'm listening to Lithuania by Childish Gambino right now.
Nice.
It fits too well.
R.I.P.
It fits too well.
R.I.P. Childish Gambino is being put to bed, apparently.
Oh, yeah, I heard also Melanie Martinez sucks.
Oh.
Well, I know she's been accused of sexual assault by another woman before.
It's rare, but
Oh,
it's
okay,
still
well,
squashed.
I see.
Last month was Sanguinist.
Okay.
Sanguinist.
Congratulations, Sanguinist. That is the winner of
Sanguinist? It's probably a better
Original
way to
art?
pronounce it.
Sanguinist, quite
Sanguinist.
probably.
Probably.
But Blood Magician, I would read that as. But in any case, just to remind the audience, subscribers get to be part of the list that we roll on every game to determine who gets free artwork. So we'll have to make tonight's roll again between rooms because we don't have the list, but we will do so. So hey, if you aren't subscribed, it's a good time to do so before Alina downloads the list, because then you would be on it during that roll. And with that, does anyone have anything to shout out before we sign off?
It's going to be TRC Day, Truth and
will be.
Reconciliation soon.
September
Yes.
30th.
Yeah, there is a lot of
I'm
incredible media out there where you can learn about your complicity as a resider on Turtle Island, North America. What has been going on. Bones of Crows is an incredible movie and series that goes over kind of the apocalypse that we have been going through for a while, and is just incredibly beautiful media. So I definitely suggest checking out Bones of Crows, movie or series, available online.
It's very good.
Lots of really great charities out there as well. Shout out to DeFaro Lumtai for
My
for
God, yes.
showing up on the Emmys red carpet with the red palm print for missing and murdered Indigenous women. That was fucking baller. That kid's a rock star.
Also, he's a super smiley guy, but the entire time he was wearing that, he like made an effort not to smile.
Yep. It's a hell of a thing to see in any day and age in a mainstream award show red carpet. So I didn't think I'd live to see the day as a pessimistic prairie Canadian. Any other stuff anybody wants to shout out? Any projects coming up? As always, check out everybody's links. Check out the comics. Support your local artists.
If you want more streaming, I am on another channel. It is twitch.tv/Altered Echo Archives. We are going to be wrapping up our long-running campaign, our Cypher System campaign, Empyrean Rising, probably within a couple games. So that will air this Sunday, and then it'll probably be 2 or 3 games beyond that at most. So it's a really good time to jump in. It's really getting climactic. And then Fridays opposite that, we are doing a fairy game, which is very, very silly. I play an awful rock star who is also an elf or something. We don't know.
Fairy rock star.
There's also a were-chihuahua, so come and watch just for the were-chihuahua, please.
Just real Indigenous, something else.
Yeah, right? Or just something else. Whatever.
All right, folks. We will see you next time, probably in 2 weeks, but we will keep y'all informed on the Discord and on our social medias. Until next time, Trash Heroes out.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for games, everybody. See ya.
See ya.